Public demonstrations of tools like ChatGPT and Claude suggest a world of flawless execution. But inside the Fortune 500, the reality is far more difficult. Integrating these models into rigid, legacy corporate data stacks and complex security architectures has created a massive operational bottleneck. This chart tracks a dual trend. The cost of running AI models is plummeting, while the performance gap between major competitors is shrinking. Because baseline intelligence is becoming a cheap commodity, the profit margins in simply renting out raw compute are rapidly evaporating. Major tech companies are responding by pivoting to forward-deployed engineering. In this model, tech giants spend billions to physically send their own engineering teams to live inside a customer's business. These teams work on-site to build custom infrastructure and solve the specific deployment roadblocks that software alone cannot fix. The competition for AI dominance has moved from the research lab to the server room floor. Success now depends on which engineering team can most effectively rewrite how a legacy business functions from the inside. Microsoft committed $2.5 billion to form an internal frontier company, immediately deploying 6,000 existing engineers and sector specialists to provide on-site enterprise services. Their engineering teams pitch a swappable architecture. This allows a business to build its internal systems while retaining the ability to trade out the underlying models, whether they come from OpenAI, Anthropic, or the open-source community. This flexibility at the model layer solves the customer's fear of vendor lock-in. However, as this diagram shows, every one of those swappable models remains anchored to Azure, ensuring that all data processing relies on Microsoft's cloud infrastructure. Microsoft is scaling a cloud retention engine, using these deployment teams to ensure Azure remains the foundational layer for all corporate AI logic. OpenAI's competitive response is the OpenAI Deployment Company. This is a standalone legal entity, backed by $4 billion from a consortium led by the private equity firm TPG. While OpenAI leads in model performance, they lack Microsoft's decades of enterprise consulting experience. Partnering with private equity allows them to scale a specialized workforce rapidly without altering their own research-focused balance sheet. OpenAI's teams work to ensure their GPT-based architectures are so deeply woven into a company's internal code that removing them would require a total structural overhaul. This strategy prioritizes ecosystem defense, betting that deep code-based integration creates a more resilient competitive moat than owning the cloud servers. Anthropic has adopted a different model through a $1.5 billion joint venture with Wall Street asset management giants, including Blackstone and Goldman Sachs. This partnership allows Anthropic to bypass the traditional, slow-moving enterprise sales cycle entirely. Instead of traditional sales, the investment firms own the target companies. Anthropic's engineers are directed to work inside the businesses already held in these massive private equity portfolios. Anthropic gains immediate distribution, while the private equity firms use AI to compress operational costs and increase the exit valuations of their holdings. This approach turns AI deployment into a pure financial optimization tool for Wall Street. Engaging with AI providers today involves deep operational partnerships, where external engineers are co-authoring a company's internal code and data pipelines. To maintain digital sovereignty, organizations must establish clear defensive boundaries before these embedded engineering cycles begin. The first defense is building an internal API gateway, a model-agnostic wrapper. By ensuring all proprietary workflows call this gateway rather than the AI model directly, a company can swap vendors or update code without rewriting its entire software stack. Next, organizations must establish strict data demilitarized zones. Engineering teams should only interact with synthesized or tokenized data, ensuring the core proprietary assets remain isolated. When using retrieval-augmented generation, the AI should be treated as a stateless reasoning engine. You provide the necessary context, collect the result, and ensure the session footprint is immediately wiped from the provider's environment. Finally, contracts must be tied to strict operational KPIs and mandate continuous internal knowledge transfer. This prevents a brain drain when the external engineers roll off the project, keeping the institutional intelligence inside the company. The ultimate victor of the AI era will be the organization that dictates the rules for structurally rewriting the global economy.